In this video, I'm going to show you how to complete exercise 6 problem B in SOLIDWORKS. So this problem is a configurations problem, and it consists of an assembly of this hex key set shown below, in which you have to open an existing assembly and modify the assembly, creating a new configuration to show the hex keys in the unfolded state as shown below here in the bottom of the page. The next step is you have to add an exploded view to the unfolded configuration. So let's go ahead and open up SOLIDWORKS and open up the assembly that is given. So I've saved that to my flash drive here, and I'm going to open this up. And what you're going to see is when this opens up, we have our assembly. It's complete. Everything should be fully defined, but the hex keys are all folded inside of the housing body. So if I go to my configurations manager, I have one configuration called folded. Okay, so step number one is we want to make a new configuration, and we're going to title the new configuration unfolded. So I'm going to right click, add configuration. I'm going to call this unfolded. Make sure you spell unfolded correctly. Okay, so now I have unfolded and folded, and if I flip back and forth between the two, nothing happens because they're physically the same. So my folded configuration is what it is. That's done, that's good. The unfolded, I need to take this and modify it so that these hex keys can open up. So right now, if I try to click a hex key and drag it, I get this message that pops up that says the selected component is fully defined and it cannot be moved. What that means is that there is mates within this assembly defining each one of these hex keys to be in its current state, defined angularly so that it cannot rotate about its pivot point back here. So I need to find those mates, and I need to suppress those mates. So suppressing something means you're turning it off. You're not deleting it, but you're turning it off, in which you can turn it back on again if you want to. To suppress something, you right click and you say suppress. So in this case, you see that I suppressed the nut on the back side here. If the mates associated with that nut are also suppressed. So if I right click and I say unsuppress, now my nut shows back up. Side note, I can also right click and go to the hide command, which also makes it disappear. However, you notice that it's still there, it's not suppressed. The difference between hide and suppress is if you hide something, the mates stay. If you suppress something, the mates are suppressed as well as the item itself, as well as the display state. So let's show that component, bring that back. That's a tangent there, we got off track. So looking at my feature tree, I can go through my mates and see, okay, there's a concentric, there's a distance mate, coincident to an axis, so that I don't want to change any of these. There's a coincident mates. That looks like it's setting each one of these hex keys coincident with one another. So if I kind of flip through those, you can see, okay, so those are all mating coincident to each other. And then, okay, coincident, concentric, so that's the hardware. So if I go through my tree, you'll see once I get down to here, there's these coincidence hex key top plane. So let's right click and edit that feature to see what that is. That's mating the top plane of my hex key to the top plane of my assembly, making those coincident. So that is the mate that's aligning each one of these hex keys and making it, making the top surface of the hex key horizontal, essentially making it these two planes coincident. So if I was to take that and suppress that mate, now if I come in here, I can drag that hex key and I could open it up. Interesting. So that's exactly what I want to do for all of these hex keys, because I want all of these hex keys to be able to flex. And so hex key, I can select all of them at once. I can right click and I'm going to say suppress. And now I believe each one of these hex keys should be able to be clicked and dragged open. Good. Let's drag all these out just so I can see them. Sometimes it's easier if you can see the items before your when you're mating them. Okay, good. So now I have all my keys able to rotate. And now I have to look into my problem statement and find out what angle to define those at. So I'm going to orient my hex key assembly to where the big ones are on the right and the little ones are on the left, which is exactly opposite. So let's flip this around so I'm looking at the right thing here. Good. Okay, so the biggest hex key is 38 degrees from the bottom surface of my plane there. So the biggest hex key, that's this one. So let's kind of put this in the right order. So if I click, that's hex key 8. If I go into hex key 8, I can select the top plane of my hex key 8. Right? You see that plane is collinear with this edge of the part, which is defined on my drawing there. So if I click the top plane there, and I click the top plane of my assembly, this is the angle that I want to set. So I select those two planes, I click mate, and I don't want that to be coincident. I want to set the angle. So I click the angle and I type in 38 degrees, and then I click check. 38 degrees, and then I click check. There we go. Now this is fully defined, it cannot be moved. The next one is 59 degrees. So I'm going to go into this hex key number 7, and I'm going to go again, select the top plane of hex key number 7 and the top plane of my assembly, mate. Not coincident. I'm going to go down here to angle. And there we go. Let's postpone for 2 hours there. And this one is 59, was that correct? 59. Yep. Hit accept. Okay, so now I'm still in the mate command. My next hex key is 81 degrees. So let's go, I believe it's probably hex key number 6 there. Yep, so let's select the top plane of hex key number 6, top plane of my assembly. I do not want it, I want it to be an angle. I don't want it to be 90 degrees. Let's flip the dimension there, and this one was 81. Now interesting, notice that it's going the wrong way. So let's flip the alignment, and there we go. So you have the mate alignment button you could play with, and also the flip dimension. So that's going to reverse it to the other side as well. So if you play with these, you can see what it does. So that flips it that way. Mate alignment flips it that way. So that is indeed the correct orientation. That's what I want. So I hit the check. Going over to the other side, the first one over here is, so this time I'm coming all the way across 134 to the next biggest, which would be this one. So that's hex key 5. So I'm going to go into hex key 5, top plane to top plane. My angle is 135, 134. I hit the check. Hex key 4, top plane to top plane. The angle is 113. Good. Hex key 3, top plane to my assembly top plane. My angle is 89. Okay, 70 and then 54. So hex key 2, top plane to top plane, set the angle, 70. Hex key number 1 finally, find top plane to top plane, the angle is 54. So now I've set all of these angles, so none of these should be able to move. And if I click them and I drag them, they're not moving. Everything is fully defined. Everything is happy. Now, this is the unfolded configuration. Let's go to the folded configuration and see what happens. Ooh, I have an error. Good. So what's happening is everything's red and yellow, everything's blowing up. The software doesn't know what to do because I have mates that are conflicting. I have the coincident mates here, and then I have the angular mates between the same thing. So in the folded configuration, I want all of my angle mates to be suppressed. And when I do that, everything solves, it's happy, and the assembly physically does what I want it to do. If I go back to now I go to unfolded, and then it opens up because I already suppressed those mates in the unfolded configuration. So in the unfolded configuration, all these mates are suppressed and the angles are defining the angular location of the keys. In the folded configuration, the mates are backwards or opposite, in which the angles are suppressed and the coincident mates are driving the state of the assembly. So now the last step is to make an exploded view of the unfolded configuration. So I'm going to click the exploded view button while I'm in the unfolded configuration. And I'm going to explode this by taking both of these screws off at the same time. Then let's go back to the nuts over here. Let's take both of these off at the same time. Let's take the washers as well. Pull these over to here. Then let's take this piece off this way, this piece off this way, and then each one of these individually I'm just going to drag out. Okay, everything is exploded. I'm happy. I hit the check. There it is. And so I can see I can collapse my exploded view. I can go back to the folded configuration. I could go to the unfolded configuration, and I could explode my unfolded configuration. So at this point, you're complete. You're done with exercise 6-B. Hope this helps, and thanks for watching.